lot of packing up, loading up, trying to get out as much as, possible.
A destructive wildfire in Northern California growing rapidly tonight. Thousands of people being forced to quickly pack up and evacuate. And tonight, crews have no containment on what's being called the Park Fire. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. This fire is burning in Butte and Tehama counties near the city of Chico. It started Wednesday afternoon and has exploded in size. CAL FIRE says more than 239,000 acres have burned, and containment dropped from 3% down to 0% last night. More than 130 homes and other buildings have been destroyed. More than 1,600 firefighters are on the scene here. Video from the Alert California website shows flames near an observation camera overnight and terrifying shots of superheated air creating a fire tornado. One person who evacuated could hear the sound as they left their home.
It's pretty crazy. There's one spot you could just see like it had a little fire tornado going on, and we could hear it when we were leaving. You could just, this roaring sound, you could hear the fire roaring as we were leaving.
Hundreds of firefighters remain on the front lines of this fire tonight, and neighbors in this area say they're beyond grateful for their work.
The fire guys did an absolutely amazing job. When you look around and see fire everywhere and all the houses saved, except a few where they had an explosion, amazing. Yeah. These guys are to be commended.
CAL FIRE says 8 of its 10 bases have air crews that are trained now to fly at night. Crews have been using tools such as night vision goggles to help monitor and fight the fire even after the sun goes down. And that fire near Chico is stirring some painful memories for people living in the nearby town of Paradise. That community was devastated by the deadly Camp Fire back in 2018. Reporter Maricela de la Cruz spoke with people in Paradise about how they're feeling with a new fire so close by.
The thick smoke cloud.
It's just stressful. It's just stressful.
A traumatic sight for many Paradise residents as city officials issued evacuation warnings.
It was very impactful. Every once in a while when we smell smoke or see smoke like that, it does trigger us. It triggers the people here in Paradise. It's just part of when you go through trauma, that's what happens.
Lori Schwain lost a home in the 2018 Camp Fire. And while she was not living in Paradise, she isn't used to warnings so close to home.
I'm getting evacuation alerts and, be ready. And so I'm packed up, my dog, my cat. That's all I can do is wait and watch and hopefully get alerts. So.
Yesterday, Paradise officials decided to issue a warning for people living in areas 1, 4, and 9.
One of the things we learned from the Camp Fire is you cannot over-communicate about this enough.
Mayor Ron Lasant says that while the flames are not close to town, many residents are on edge.
Hard to talk about it sometimes. It gets you kind of emotionally. Yes, there's a fire back there. Yes, people's houses are being destroyed. Yes, we've got over 1,000 firemen out there, firemen, firewomen, firefighters out there risking their lives to keep us safe.
While Paradise residents wait for the next update, some are finding shelter in the town.
Yeah, I'm a widow with 2 teens, and I'm trying to make ends meet as it is, and this is just not helping.
Rachel Vaughn lives near Forest Ranch and had to evacuate last night.
It's been stressful. I mean, I had to leave some animals behind, turn them loose, and my horse, and not having the funds or the means to even provide for my family outside of my home has been difficult.
One thing that's changed since the Camp Fire is the addition of 21 towers like these throughout town, and it's what the mayor calls a last resort type of notification. So in case of an emergency, siren and audio would go off notifying residents which zones would have to be evacuated. In Paradise, Maricela de la Cruz, KCRA 3 News.
In the Bay Area, crews are mopping up a fire that burned dangerously close to Interstate 580. This was in the Altamont Pass area this afternoon near Livermore. You can see all the charred brush along 580 near North Flynn Road. CAL FIRE says this started as a car fire, and then that car fire spread to vegetation just before 10 o'clock last night. The fire burned about 500 acres, but it never threatened any buildings in that area. Dozens of wildfires are burning across the state of Oregon tonight, many of them sparked by lightning and fanned by strong winds. East of Salem, the Slate Creek fire is bringing back memories from another destructive wildfire 4 years ago in this area. The Beachy Creek fire charred 186,000 acres, killed 4 people and burned thousands of homes. Some residents say that fire has also left them more resilient.
A lot of us are prepared for certain situations in case it does come and affect our town again. A lot of us have go bags to go. A lot more people have more supplies.
At least 38 large wildfires are burning in the state. The largest is the Durkee fire that's burned about 600 square miles in eastern Oregon. A pilot was killed in a tanker plane crash while helping fight another wildfire in eastern Oregon. The Falls Fire is burning near the town of Seneca at the edge of the Malheur National Forest. Authorities reported the tanker missing yesterday with only the pilot on board. Search efforts were suspended overnight, but officials were able to find that tanker this morning. The single-engine plane was found in steep forested terrain with the pilot's body inside. The Falls Fire has burned more than 140,000 acres and is 55% contained. A wildfire in Idaho has exploded in size. Here is video from a driver in Julietta in the western part of the state, not far from the Washington border. The Gwen fire approached Highway 3 with thick smoke coming over the roadway here. Officials say record heat, dry conditions, and lightning strikes are fueling this fire. Overnight, it jumped from 2,000 acres up to 20,000 acres. There's no word tonight on any containment. Up in Western Canada, a massive wildfire has wiped out about half of the historic town of Jasper. Officials say firefighters tried to save what they could, but many buildings have been reduced to rubble. Crews got a break with cooler conditions yesterday, but warmer weather is expected in this area in the coming days. In Southern California, an evacuation order has now been downgraded to an evacuation warning for this wildfire in Riverside County. The Macy fire has burned about 145 acres near Lake Elsinore, and it's 30% contained tonight. Authorities say high heat and low humidity are making the firefight difficult here. Some people say they had to move quickly to get out of the fire's path.
It took about 15 minutes for the flames to get engulfed all the way up to the highway, and really rapid. As of right now, though, they don't see any flames, but they're very scared. Got my 2 friends up there and their dog, and just waiting down here for them to get, to get safe.
One home was burned in this fire and possibly other buildings as well. The cause is being investigated tonight, and there is an evacuation center that's been opened up at Elsinore High School in Wildomar. Firefighters in Ventura County, north of Los Angeles, are dealing with a wildfire near Apache Canyon. What's being called the Apache Fire has burned about 1,500 acres. Authorities have evacuated nearby homes, but there are no reports of any damage tonight. The fire is 10% contained. For more on the conditions that all of these fire crews are facing across the West, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Mark Tamayo with a look at the weather here across the West and what those crews are facing. Mark?
Hi there, Alex. Yeah, of course, we've been talking so much about heat over the past few weeks. Some parts of the West Coast will be cooling off, especially up in Northern California, over the next few days as we head into the weekend. But there's so many different fire zones, unfortunately, and with varying conditions with each fire out there. Of course, the fire up in Northern California near the Chico area, the satellite picking up on that big smoke plume, and red flag fire warnings in place until 11 o'clock this evening. To the problem, at least today, some gusty winds and low humidity, but we are expecting those winds to ease a bit and the moisture levels to go up a bit as we do move into the weekend. So taking a look right now at the Park Fire, the current conditions right now, 91 degrees, relative humidity at 20%, and winds at the southwest at about 15 miles an hour. And the forecast for tomorrow morning, the good news is we will see those moisture levels go up quite a bit, 78%, temperature of 58 degrees, and tomorrow will be cooler than today. So the weather conditions will actually help the fire crews somewhat in terms of reduction of the heat, and also will bump up the moisture levels as well, but still a bit of a breeze in the air. This was Seattle today, 78 degrees, showing you some high cloud cover, a bit of some haze in the San Francisco Bay Area, looking at some low clouds out in the distance, San Francisco, and definitely a cool down expected this weekend. And then out in the Phoenix area, some cloud cover showing up in this picture as well, 110 degrees in Phoenix this afternoon. Right now it is 107 in Las Vegas, Los Angeles in the upper 60s, San Francisco 56. As you can see out towards Seattle, 74 degrees. And we are showing you some thunderstorm activity, some showers and thunderstorms out toward portions of Colorado, New Mexico, and as you can see in Arizona. In California, we are tracking the low clouds, especially closer to the San Francisco Bay Area and up in the Pacific Northwest. Looks like we have fair skies right now, and we are expecting more sunshine in the Seattle area for tomorrow. San Francisco, clouds in the morning. It is warm to hot in the Phoenix area. Once again, that has been the constant, and maybe some thunderstorms once again out toward the Denver area. About a 40% chance of some thunderstorms developing throughout the day. So here is the forecast over the next 3 days. Seattle, as you can see, upper 70s, close to 80 degrees. San Francisco mainly in the 60s. Los Angeles close to 80, and Phoenix once again up above 100 degrees. But it looks like some parts of the West Coast, as we talked about, will be cooling off a bit over the next couple days.
Yeah, that will be good and helpful for those fire crews to see some cooler conditions here. Mark, thank you for that. In Arizona, the search continues tonight for a worker who was trapped inside a warehouse when it collapsed during a strong thunderstorm. That Phoenix warehouse caved in on Wednesday. Since that time, cranes have been moving huge slabs of debris around. Crews are working 12-hour shifts, searching for the unaccounted worker and holding out hope for a rescue. The Phoenix Fire Department has been using drones and dogs in this search, and those dogs did alert to a certain area of the building at one point yesterday, but that did not yield any results. Structural engineers have also been helping with the search, working to prevent further collapse.
There's over 20 of these slabs. Instead of just going down the line, we are now focusing about in the center of this warehouse. So we've seen in situations like this where members have survived 2-3 days in situations like this with structural collapses.
And still tonight, authorities are working to find that missing worker, and they say this is still considered a rescue operation.
I thought a house had exploded or something, and I came out front and I saw the airplane over in the driveway 2 doors down.
Coming up tonight, a camera captures a small plane crashing down, the unlikely place it landed, and what witnesses saw. Plus, federal authorities say they've arrested 2 of Mexico's most powerful drug traffickers from the notorious Sinaloa cartel. What message the U.S. Attorney General hopes this sends. Caught on camera, a small plane with 2 people on board crashed into the front yard of a home in Utah Wednesday afternoon. As Fox 13's Chris Arnold shows us, despite the damage, everyone made it out alive.
I seen the video footage of the plane kind of sliding towards my house.
This video captured outside of Anthony Baugh's home in Roy.
So it immediately left me in a panic, trying to get home as fast as I could.
Baugh, who was at work at the time, says his wife and 4 children were home when the crash took place.
He was the one who came out, tried to offer them water. They said because they were in shock that they couldn't get any water or anything right now, but she came out and she saw him. The gentleman had a cut on his eye or above on his head, and then the young lady just looked like she was in shock.
I thought a house had exploded or something, and I came out front and I saw the airplane over in the driveway 2 doors down.
Pat Bowis says she has lived in this neighborhood for 62 years and never seen anything like this.
Not this close, no. No, never.
Roy City Police say just before 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, they received a call that a 2-engine airplane crashed in the area of 2350 West and 4550 South. They say the 2 occupants on board were taken to area hospitals.
Sounds like there wasn't any significant injuries. When the plane came down, my understanding is there's damage to 1 home in the area, but no other injuries to anybody nearby.
As well as some damage to nearby trees. The identities of the 2 people on board that plane have not been released at this time. It's an incident that really does hit close to home for Baugh and his family.
My eldest one, he was a little shooken up a little bit. We had some family members that passed away in a plane crash a few years ago, so it was a little nerve-wracking.
But he says he's thankful nobody was seriously hurt.
I don't know how many people out there are religious, but a lot of people here were blessed.
As for what caused this plane to crash, that is unknown at this time. But Sergeant Taylor did say that both the FAA and NTSB have been notified and will begin their investigation in conjunction with the Roy City Police Department's investigation. Here in Roy, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Boeing has admitted to defrauding the U.S. government after 2 deadly plane crashes several years ago. The Seattle-based company now has to pay about $250 million in fines after admitting they failed to make safety changes following the deaths of nearly 350 people in 2 separate Boeing plane crashes in 2018 and 2019. They also have to invest more than $450 million into compliance, safety, and quality programs. The victims' families hope this leads to changes within the company.
What the families really want is to send the biggest message they possibly can to Boeing and to other potential wrongdoers out there that if you don't prioritize safety over short-term profit, ultimately you're going to pay a big price.
On top of paying fines, the company will now have to hire a monitor to look over their shoulder to make sure they are following the rules. 2 leaders of the notorious Sinaloa drug cartel are in custody tonight after being arrested in Mexico. I beg your pardon, they were arrested in Texas. The U.S. Justice Department says authorities arrested Ismael El Mayo Zambada, one of the most powerful drug lords in the world and one of the founders of Mexico's Sinaloa cartel. They also arrested Joaquin Guzman Lopez, the son of former drug kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. The Justice Department called those 2 men leaders of one of the most violent and powerful drug trafficking organizations in the world. They've led the Sinaloa cartel for many years. Zambada and Lopez are facing a variety of charges related to running criminal operations and trafficking fentanyl.
Fentanyl is the deadliest drug threat our country has ever faced. The Justice Department will not rest until every single cartel leader, member, and associate responsible for poisoning our communities is held accountable.
The 2 men were arrested after being lured across the U.S. border in a sting operation. The Justice Department says the men were responsible for the trafficking of tens of thousands of pounds of cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl. The state of Utah has set a new record with more fentanyl pill seizures in the first half of this year than during all of 2023. The DEA announced today almost 800,000 pills were seized in Utah between January 1st and June 30th. That's more than the 664,000 from all of last year. The administration says Colorado is also on its way to a record-setting number of fentanyl seizures this year. In Seattle, police are investigating a deadly shooting that happened during a rooftop party at a hotel in the city's Pioneer Square neighborhood. It remains unclear tonight what led up to the shooting. As Fox 13's Shiro Matsuzawa reports, police don't want this act of violence to detract from the city's reputation.
It's an unfortunate act of gun violence.
But for Community Development Director with the Alliance for Pioneer Square, Chris Woodward, Thursday's deadly shooting is not unique to Pioneer Square, but something he says keeps happening across Seattle, Washington, and the United States.
The victim was shot multiple times.
Seattle Police Detective Brian Pritchard says around 9:30 Thursday night, someone shot and killed a 30-year-old man during an art celebration on a rooftop. Right now, he says they're still searching for the suspected shooter, and it's unclear what caused that shooting in the first place. But this shooting comes as organizations like the Alliance for Pioneer Square work to change the neighborhood's crime-filled narrative.
There's a lot of people in this community working really, really hard to invite people down to this neighborhood, to make them feel welcome, to have events that they can engage with, to be a really vibrant space for folks.
Looking at the crime dashboard from the City of Seattle's official website, in Pioneer Square alone, there have been more than 210 crimes committed as of June 30th this year. Those include both violent and property crimes.
There are emphasis patrols that we do have currently going.
Seattle police are also working to change that narrative.
We're trying to change the way people might think of downtown Seattle, period. We just want them to know that incidents like this happen in cities across America, and we just want them to know that Seattle Police Department wants to assure that they're safe when they come downtown. We want them to continue to come downtown.
Detective Pritchard says the department is constantly adding those patrols to different parts of downtown to deal with the crime. Chris says while efforts like those give him hope, it's still important to always be mindful of your surroundings.
Important to maintain your own personal safety, and unfortunately that's just the reality of the world we live in today, both in the city but also in the United States.
And that was Fox 13's Shiro Matsuzawa reporting for us tonight from Seattle. Coming up here on West Coast Wrap tonight, a confrontation between a driver and a group of bicyclists turns violent. What happened after the driver of a truck allegedly struck one of those cyclists? Also, the Olympic Games now underway in Paris. Tonight, the Southern California native and hip-hop icon who helped to kick off the events. A dangerous scene to show you in Southern California this week.
Guys, I think we should call the police. Yeah.
A truck plowed right through a wooden gate after reportedly hitting a bicyclist. This all unfolded in Brentwood, near Los Angeles. A witness says the driver was yelling at a group of cyclists and the truck struck at least one of them. Deputies later pursued the driver, who crashed and was taken into custody. The injured cyclist is expected to survive. The father of Ron Goldman is suing O.J. Simpson's Las Vegas estate for $117 million for the wrongful death of his son. Although Simpson was acquitted in the 1994 killings, Fred Goldman won a civil lawsuit against Simpson in Los Angeles in 1997. The suit ordered Simpson to pay $33 million to Goldman, but due to laws protecting Simpson's NFL pension, that award was never paid out. Hollywood's video game performers have gone on strike over artificial intelligence. The 2,600 SAG-AFTRA members want a requirement for producers to get their consent before reproducing their voice or likeness with AI. Residuals and AI were some of the major issues when Hollywood actors went on strike last year. A dispute between two anti-doping bodies is threatening to derail the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles and the 2034 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency accused the World Anti-Doping Agency of covering up Chinese swimmers who tested positive for banned substances. Now the IOC is getting involved to settle this years-long feud. If this review goes against the United States, the Olympics could not be held in this country. One of the most beloved hip-hop artists of all time helped to usher in the Olympic Games in Paris today. Of course, that is Southern California native Snoop Dogg carrying the Olympic torch just hours before the start of the opening ceremony today. He held what's become a symbol of the Games, and he was doing this in a suburb of Paris. Snoop has been, of course, a hit musician, a reality TV star, and he is now an Olympics broadcaster as well. Finally, tonight, a woman in Colorado returned from a hike to find a goat dancing on her car. Mindy Williford was coming back from her walk near Mount Blue Sky in Colorado when she saw the goat on her car. Williford says after a few moments, the mountain goats finally left the area, and in the end, thankfully, no one was hurt here, but certainly quite a sight, and she has quite a story to tell. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. A reminder before we go, you can stay up to date on all the stories we are covering at our website, westcoastwrap.com, and you can stream our shows with the Fox Local app as well. Have a great night.